Good morning, friends. Today we've got a special festival, the festival of the Assumption of Our Lady. And as well, we've still got Sundays in Trinity. This is the 11th Sunday after Trinity, with the intent of discernment. So, discernment as the intent, and a white festival, Our Lady's, one of the festivals of Our Lady, the Assumption. I'll describe that in a little bit. First, the collect. Always we look to the collect for just some key ideas. O Lord Christ, who for her wondrous humility and purity hast exalted the Holy Lady Mary among the hosts of heaven, grant that we thy people may so follow her most noble example. So here's the key thought. Mary, the mother of Jesus, is being exalted, and we look to her for that special example of humility. You may recall humility was mentioned in different ways in the Sermon on the Mount. That key public teaching of Jesus that reached the widest number of people. If we look in the New Testament, or we recall from our readings, Jesus was teaching all the time. A little sentence here, a little admonition over there, maybe just straightening out some misunderstandings here and there. But the Sermon on the Mount was very public. Lots of people and lots of information. Humility being possibly one of the things that he led with. So what is the Assumption of Our Lady? The Assumption of Our Lady is that her body did not decay, but went spontaneously into heaven. So that is what we might regard as a miracle. It's well worthwhile not to suddenly say, well, that's impossible. That can't happen. When we live in the secular age that we live in. When we think about the things of the secular age, do we know how our computer works? Do we know how our mobile phone works? It just sort of works, doesn't it? Some people can explain it to you. You should ask them sometimes if you want to get a good night's sleep. But if you want to think about how the world works, there's lots of things we don't understand, but just accept. We learn about atoms, and we understand that atoms make up the world. And do we know a lot about atoms? Not really. We just accept it. So, for something like the Assumption, and for something like the ideas behind it, we should just mull on it, think on it, reflect on it, and just wonder what is the impact in our lives. But the main thing is the humility of Mary. And today, with the remembrance of Mary in particular, we link powerful ideas, wisdom, humility, acceptance, these ideas. The Epistle, which was read this morning by Matthew, from the Book of Wisdom of Solomon. So we have to imagine that this is Solomon speaking. Solomon is given the attribute of great wisdom. When he was asked by a spirit, by the God in his heart, something that was personal to him, an experience that was personal to him. Do you want great wealth? Do you want great fame? Do you want great power? He said, I want wisdom. In choosing that, he aligned himself with the wisdom of God. And so this epistle we imagine as Solomon speaking his plan, his intent to the world. And he's talking about giving me wisdom. Solomon is talking, give me wisdom. He's saying, come and sit by my throne. Come and be with me when I'm making my day-to-day decisions. He's a king of Israel, very important king. You can imagine all the things that he had to try and put right, all the things that he had to deal with. You recall the testing that he did. The two women coming to claim a particular baby, and you recall his solution to that. Very radical. He then refers to wisdom, knowing an aspect of wisdom. He says, I know your works, we knoweth thy works, and we know that you were present before the world was formed. In other words, you are the bedrock of everything. Your wisdom penetrates everything. And in order to be in perfect alignment with what I should be doing, as Solomon is saying, I want you, wisdom, to come and stand by me. Come and work with me when I'm working. Come and labour with me. And you that knoweth all things, be with me. And then the passage concludes, so the ways of them who lived on the earth were reformed. Solomon spoke to his people, they reformed their ways, and men were taught the things that are pleasing unto thee, unto God, and were saved through wisdom. Saved through wisdom. That's a lovely phrase. Saved from what? Saved from their foolishness. Saved from leading lives that weren't very satisfactory. Saved from saying, gee, I wish I'd done that. Maybe there's a bit of that. But you had something to go back to. Next time, I'll try and aspire to that. What's that? The wisdom of the Lord. So this is setting a keynote for Israel. This is Solomon setting a keynote for all the people, and most importantly, a keynote for himself. So we take that as our inspiration. We can set wisdom as the keynote. How does this connect to Mary? Mary shows through humility one of the great connections she has with wisdom. She has the wisdom to accept. She's a little bit startled when the archangel comes, but she accepts it. And does she accept it in a sort of a passive way, which some of the paintings depict? No. She accepts it knowing this is the will of God, and gets on with her life and falls in with this idea. So humility, wisdom, can sometimes sort of feel just a little bit wishy-washy maybe. I think it's very strong. I think it's very powerful. I think it's one of the platforms you can base your life on. You're always aligning with the will of God. And when you're confronting things that are not going well, that maybe are really going extremely badly, you don't say, well, look, this is terrible, obviously God doesn't love me, that's all silly. What you're saying is, a wake-up call. This is a wake-up for me. If I'm not perfectly in alignment, these things are going to be more and more onerous. If I adopt humility, what is that? The great strength of letting things happen and unfold at the rhythm that God wants them to. It takes great strength to do that, great patience to do that. Do you think patience is wishy-washy? It's not. Patience is very powerful. So these ideas then, these key thoughts, coming through this festival of the Assumption, remind us of Mary starting off her part of the life of Jesus, which the archangel coming to her and saying, good news, Mary, and she's saying, what? What is that? And then realizing what was being said and falling in with that. And saying the most famous words that a lot of people know, behold the handmaid of the Lord, be it unto me according to thy word, be it unto me according to thy wisdom, be it unto me according to thy way for me. Great strength of aligning with that. So this is the Assumption of our Mary, of Our Lady, of Mary, the mother of Jesus. It's linked to a miracle where her body goes into heaven. We can just let that stand to one side. We can accept it. We can just suspend it, whatever it is. It's a very powerful symbol. And then we go through the arc of Mary's life, from the start of the involvement with Jesus through to the Assumption, and we see her life as an example. Wisdom, humility, great inner strength, alignment with the will of God. This is the message of the Assumption of Our Lady, along with the Sunday Trinity intent, discernment. Discern what is really valuable in life, what sustains us in life, and follow that, just like the wisdom of Solomon.